Alliance blog, the Alliance blog, the Alliance blog, the Alliance blog. Alliance? If you put an S in front of Alliance, you have Salience. That's me.
This is Lois Brain here, and I'm advising you to do yourself a favor and watch the Alliance Guys podcast.
Can you believe that there are some people in this world that did not tune in to the Alliance Blog podcast? Shame on you! Shame on you! My name is Ella Indy, and I'm one half of the NWA Women's World Tag Team Champion. And I'm Kinsey Page, the other half of the NWA World Women's Tag Team Champion. And you better go listen to the Alliance Blog, what is it called? The podcast, period. Or you're ugly. Pretty empowered, approved.
Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive Poppy Danny Limelight, the United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance Blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Poppy.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Alliance Blog podcast, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com. That's your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is Jay Cal. It's been a while since we've done one of these, so we're trying to do things a little bit different. Obviously, content creation is king when it comes to pro wrestling talk, and we do 2 live streams, technically 3 live streams over on our YouTube, Twitch platforms, but I would like to try to make more concerted effort to give more exclusive content just to our listeners who listen via Spotify or iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast content. So this is exclusive for you guys. This is just for you. Obviously, this has been a kind of hard week for wrestling fans. We lost a living legend in the sport of professional wrestling. Sabu, better known, well, not better known. His friends and family probably called him Terry Brunk, but I think everyone else in the world knew him as Sabu. And Sabu unfortunately passed away this past week. I'd like to say it was unexpectedly, right? I'd like to say that it was a shock, but to be honest, I mean, the man lived a very hardcore wrestling lifestyle. This week, I talked to my good friend Soto 619, who is a TikToker, covers a lot of WWE. So we talked a little bit about Sabu, but we spent some time talking about the WWE for this podcast. But I wanted to do this video to kind of talk about not only Sabu, but everything else that's going on with wrestling today. Obviously, this hopefully is going up on Friday, which is literally the day before Hard Times, and I will be out there along with some of the other NWA faithful as we go to the 2300 arena to celebrate the Crockett Cup. There's some changes to the matches and everything else, but as I'm as excited as I am about all of that, I would be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about Sabu and of course some WWE talk. So stay tuned as we're going to talk about Sabu right now.
The wrestling world is suffering with the loss of Sabu. And I didn't have that moment of silence for him before the show. So I'm going to get back to your guys' comments in a minute, but let's just take like 30 seconds to acknowledge an icon in the sport of professional wrestling, a former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, Sabu. Sabu was one of those guys who, history hopefully will remember him more fondly than today. People seem to have forgotten how important Sabu was to professional wrestling. And we look at a promotion like ECW as the genesis for a lot of the sports entertainment we see today. I mean, things like the tables and ladders and chair matches that was made famous in the WWE, the ECW arena, the 2300. We're all going there on Saturday for the Crockett Cup. But just remember that if it wasn't for Sabu, we look at ECW as this holy grail of pro wrestling. But what was the spirit behind ECW? Some people will say Tommy Dreamer. Some people will say Raven. Hell, some people will even say Rob Van Dam. And there's some truth to all of that. But what would ECW have been without Sabu? Sabu brought a style of hardcore, extreme wrestling that hadn't been seen by anybody. I mean, the matches in Puerto Rico, the death matches, were probably close. Mick Foley and Terry Funk fighting in Japan and explosive barbed wire matches were pretty close. But the day in, day out grind that Sabu and Taz and, like I said, RVD, Raven, Sandman, Tommy Dreamer, these guys built ECW. And if it wasn't for that time, the pro wrestling world would look very different. You guys remember what the WWE looked like in 1993, 1994, 1995? It's very cartoonish. And yes, WCW constantly borrowed from elements from ECW. I was talking about this with Soto earlier on TikTok. It was Eric Bischoff seeing Psicosis and Rey Mysterio in the ECW arena that brought the Luchadors to the cruiserweight division of WCW. And imagine if Paul Heyman never went out and found those guys. At that point, AAA was still a known commodity, but Lucha Libre in the US wasn't as big of a thing as it is right now. Sabu was the heart and soul of ECW, and no one can tell me otherwise. He was the gas. He was what people tuned in for. His rivalry with Terry Funk, his rivalry with Taz, people were into it. Then teaming with RVD brought a whole new element to it, and I don't believe that ECW would have existed the way it did, and it wouldn't have been as influential as it is had it not been for Sabu. Now, with that being said, Sabu, he left ECW. He left ECW probably at the height of his popularity. And you know what he did? He went to XPW, the Southern California Timu version of ECW, and became the XPW World Champion. And simultaneous, while being XPW World Champion and defending that title monthly here in Southern California, he also was the NWA World Champion and held that title for 38 days. And when he wasn't champion, he was pursuing the title while outside of ECW. It wasn't a long reign. It's not like Sabu built the NWA, but we should acknowledge a trailblazer who held the 10 pounds of gold. When we talk about the famous names who've held that title, I mean, obviously Luthez comes to a lot of people's minds, Ric Flair, right? These are the two biggest names that have held that title, I think. Some might say Harley Race, some might say Ricky Steamboat, some might say Dusty Rhodes, right? But there was a point in time when the NWA didn't have much, right? Dan Severn was already the world's heavyweight champion, come and gone. And there was a time where the NWA needed stars, and it turned to its past territory in ECW. I mean, they put the belt on Sabu. It wasn't like they put it on him. He had to come down to Florida and beat Mike Rapata to become champion, and he would end up losing that title to Rapata again. But he defended the title in Dennis Corluzzo's promotions in New Jersey. He would go all the way to Tacoma, Washington to challenge Steve Corino for the 10 pounds of gold. They would have another match in British Columbia for that title. And I want you guys to understand that in a time where nobody was talking about the NWA and they didn't have the big stars that they did in yesteryear, these were the guys that were championing the NWA. So again, we have to acknowledge what Sabu did for the industry. We have to acknowledge what Sabu did, even for the short time that he was associated with the National Wrestling Alliance, what he did. And let's not forget, too, that once he was done with ECW and ECW was gone, Sabu would come back and be an integral part of TNA Wrestling, where he challenged for the 10 pounds of gold multiple times, whether it was against Ken Shamrock or in multi-man matches with Jeff Jarrett and Abyss, Samoa Joe. Like, he was a part of what made the NWA title important for TNA Wrestling. So my condolences to his family, his friends, and may he rest in peace, and may he get the flowers that he deserves. And if this Saturday, I really hope we get a 10-bell salute for the legend that is Sabu. And I mean, what more of a fitting place to do that than the ECW arena?
You know, and when I think about Sabu, you know, and that was from this past pre-party where we talked about Sabu, but you know, I think a lot of people are unfamiliar with his time in the NWA. So we'll talk about that a little bit right here, because his accolades in the world of professional wrestling are well acknowledged. I mean, ECW champion, his time with TNA, his time with WWE, all that stuff. That's pretty well known, but like what he did for the NWA, not a lot of people understand. Like he had a territory at one point where he was the NWA Independent World Champion. But during his time in the NWA, it was interesting. And again, we call this the wilderness era, right? Because there wasn't a lot of news and information about the NWA. This was long before the Alliance blog, and there was an NWA wrestling website. But I mean, we're talking about 2000, the year 2000. There wasn't like there was a YouTube where you could see the matches or podcasts readily available talking about it. And during that 2000, perhaps there was no bigger threat to the 10 pounds of gold than Sabu, the homicidal, suicidal, genocidal Sabu. I mean, we talked about it earlier, but his departure from ECW opened up many, many doors for him, including XPW, competing in All Japan Pro Wrestling. But the call of the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship would beckon him. Kicking off his NWA tenure, he would work in New Jersey for Dennis Corluzzo. And that wasn't really that big of a surprise, because Dennis Corluzzo and the early days of the ECW, I mean, a lot of the talents would work together. But this was much later, after Sabu started working for Corluzzo after his abrupt departure from ECW. He would work shots in New Jersey for Dennis Corluzzo. He'd work in Florida for Joe Price, and really would go wherever the NWA World title would take him. On November 14th, 2000, at Night of Choices, Sabu would defeat Mike Rapata to become the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. Sabu would go on to defend his title against Air Paris, a future World Heavyweight Champion in his own right, AJ Styles, Chris Hero, and a handful more from across the National Wrestling Alliance. But the real story was Sabu versus Rapata. Rapata never gets the love that he deserves. He was the guy keeping the NWA out there. His name was synonymous with the National Wrestling Alliance during this time, but you would only really know him from his, spots and appearances on WCW Saturday Night, usually in a jobbing role. Sabu and Rapata would battle a total of 5 times for the title. Rapata would regain the NWA title in familiar confines of Nashville, Tennessee. Sabu would have one more shot at Rapata, but would come up short. After his time as World's Heavyweight Champion, Sabu would still be around the National Wrestling Alliance and, simultaneously XPW at the same time. Sabu would go on to challenge for the World's Heavyweight Championship against Steve Corino for ECCW. That was, at the time, that was the big Pacific Northwest promotion for the National Wrestling Alliance. ECCW covered Alberta, Canada, and Portland, and Washington and Oregon. And so they would wrestle in I believe it was in Oregon, and then again in Alberta. Sabu would later challenge for the World's Heavyweight Championship during Ken Shamrock's reign as World's Heavyweight Champion in a TNA ladders versus submission match. He'd also challenged for the title a handful more times while working in TNA wrestling. But to be completely honest, I mean, Sabu was only 60 years old. He was the spirit of extreme. He pioneered hardcore wrestling, and he'll be remembered as one of the icons of the business. So for all of that being said, rest in peace, Sabu. You were a trendsetter. You were a star maker, and you will be missed. So that's always fun. Not that's sarcasm. It's never fun talking about wrestlers that I grew up watching who are now gone, and it happens far, far too often. I know that Sabu did everything he set out to accomplish in pro wrestling, and I guess maybe it's only fitting that he passed away after his final match, just a couple of weeks after. I don't know him well enough to say that that's what he wanted, but I'm sure there was some joy knowing that he was in the ring one last time. Now, there's a lot of controversy surrounding it, and Joey Janela and GCW have a lot to answer to, but I didn't really want to talk about that. I wanted to more celebrate Sabu as the icon that he was. Up next is my conversation with Soto 619, and we will get to that right now.
Speaking to my good friend Soto 619, he is probably the most prolific TikToker when it comes to the WWE. He goes live on Mondays and Fridays, and on most PLEs, and does a great job of extensively covering the World Wrestling Entertainment. If you are a fan of the WWE, you just need to follow Soto. Like, honestly.
Thank you. We're on all platforms. You know that.
So I'm getting comments about the Crockett Cup this weekend about the NWA. Zach Velocity says, Jay, be honest, do you think Natty wins the NWA Championship this Saturday? Zach, I can't tell you with 100% certainty that Natty will win the title, but in my heart of hearts, I would love nothing more than Natty Neihart to come on to NXT or was it Main Event Wrestling, the syndicated show, and show up with that NWA Women's World Championship. We affectionately call it the Burke, us NWA fans, because it was held by Mildred Burke, and I would love to see that.
I see what you did there when you said in your heart of hearts. I see what you did there.
Natty Neihart, you got that?
Yeah.
My guy Lamb is watching me on YouTube right now. He's like, "Are those new headphones?" A little bit, Lamb. They're a little bit. I've had them for a while, but so when I go live, I'm also on TikTok right now with my boy Soto 619, and we get way too much echo if I don't use the headphones.
Yeah, I might mute myself a little bit because I'm still sick. So, but anyways,
did you get that at WrestleMania?
No, dude, I just got sick like over the weekend. Like I just started feeling sick on Friday.
I went to GCW's Crazy Spooky Hilarious. I think that's what it was called. It's some weird name. And I got home that night and I was sick, like pretty bad. I was out Sunday. I never miss work. I missed work on Monday, and I barely felt good enough on Tuesday to do the live streaming.
Good thing you're good and you're in with the boss.
It's always good to have that connection.
Yeah, I got a comment in here saying, "You talking to Kevin Owens, huh?" That's right, the one and only. Man, you finally got Kevin Owens on your live. That's another comment.
I should have been wearing the Kevin Owens T-shirt.
I mean, it's the perfect time, man. You're out. You're getting surgery. It's the perfect time.
My neck hurts really bad.
All those pile drivers.
Both of my youngest daughters, 12 and 10, have started to do an impression of Jennifer Coolidge. Do you know who that is?
I do not.
So she's the one that was Stifler's mom in those movies.
Oh, okay. Yes, I do.
And they keep doing the Legally Blonde. I want a hot dog real bad. So in my head, like, oh, my neck hurts real bad. Sorry, just my sense of humor.
No, it's okay. I got it. Yeah, this is Jake Hallowins.
Jake Hallow. See, I should get. So let me show you my shirt. I don't know if I ever showed you this one.
Well, it's a good thing you're close to your closet.
Did I ever show you this?
Yeah, I remember that one.
I said I wanted a Kevin Steen look, so that's what we came up with, and it was not a hot seller, believe it or not. Nobody wanted to buy that shirt. Inkster Raw, who's also a Crockett himself, said, I've got a question for both of you. If you could make a stable with current rosters, who would you put in it, and what would the name be?
It could be. I don't really know NWA, so is this like anybody? Is this
it's
WWE?
open to the public. Whoever you'd want to put it into a stable.
I'm trying
Let's
to see
go
what
WWE.
would make. Okay, I'm trying to see what would make the most sense. I'm trying to cover all aspects, so I want high flying. I'd probably do Kevin Owens with Penta.
Ooh.
And I want a strong, like, I want to maybe Big Bronson Reed.
Big Bronson.
Something.
Did he just came back, right?
Not yet.
No.
Not
Jeff
yet.
Cobb. Jeff Cobb showed up.
Jeff Cobb. You know what? You're the perfect person to ask for Jeff Cobb because I don't know. I know zero about Jeff Cobb, and I know you know a good amount.
He was one of my favorites for a while there. Before he he hadn't been around in the Southern California Indies or the Indies stuff. But go ahead. What's your question?
No, I don't really know anything about him, man. Like,
Oh.
I'm open to any information.
So he's a NorCal guy, Northern California. APW, I think, is where he trained. He was a 2004 Olympian for Guam in powerlifting. I think it was powerlifting. And the dude is like, he looks like a brick house, but he really is so strong. And he's had some really prolific matches with in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. I don't remember who he beat for the title, but I think he defended against Keith Lee. His time in New Japan Pro Wrestling, he was part of the embassy, not the embassy. I forgot what the name is, but it was with T.J. Perkins and Will Ospreay. I think it's called the United Empire. And he's just such a strong dude. And he was, there used to be a company called Suplex, like it was like a wrestling apparel. And they sponsored a lot of the athletes. So like Matt Riddle was one of the guys they sponsored. And so was Jeff Cobb. He was one of their sponsored athletes too. And I think the world of Jeff Cobb. He spent a lot of time with New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's had held titles there in New Japan, and he's one of these guys very similar to Tama Tonga, who's had a lot of success internationally, but not a lot, not mainstream success in the U.S. Now he's had appearances for AEW, and I think before that he had appeared in Ring of Honor. I think he held the Ring of Honor TV title before that was sold to the Khans. And I think the world of Jeff Cobb. That was a great signing for the WWE. A lot of people expected him to go AEW because he's already had appeared there. Plus, Will Ospreay's there. But him in the Bloodline, he is Polynesian. So I feel like, unless I'm mistaken, and someone could correct me, I believe people from Guam identify as Polynesian, and I feel like that kind of completes the circle right there. You have the Bloodline is mostly the Ananoa'i family and the Fatus. And then they brought in the Tongans, and now you have somebody representing Guam. So it's kind of like it's everything.
Where do you think they're going to go with him?
I feel like they're going to use him as more of an enforcer, at least for the time being. If I saw someone make a meme about it, but it really does kind of feel like it. The Bloodline has just become a bunch of enforcers. You know, like when you had Romans at the head of the table, so to speak, everyone was there to protect him in the World's Heavyweight Championship. Now I feel like, you know, it's the Intercontinental title that Jacob has, right?
No, the
US
United
title.
States. Yeah.
Okay, so the U.S. Championship is still a cool title, but it's not the world title. So like, and Jacob Fatu does not need help keeping that belt. That dude is intense and amazing, and I feel like that's going to it definitely puts a whole new chapter onto the Bloodline, and now you've even, you know, it felt like the Bloodline couldn't exist without Roman, and for the better part of the year, they're still continuing the story of the Bloodline, and now you don't even have the Usos in it, you don't have Roman in it, and it's not like it's not as hot as it was, but it still makes for compelling TV. Jacob Fatu is amazing. I could see Jacob Fatu breaking off from the group and perhaps Cobb kind of filling that role, you know, being Solo's enforcer.
Yeah, I definitely see that. I had a comment over here. Antonio said that Solo knew Jacob had beef with Jeff Cobb in the Indies.
I mean, I don't think they had any beef, but yeah. I mean, like storyline
wise, yeah.
They're both NorCal guys. Cobb was kind of an elite wrestler when he was in the U.S. Indies, like again, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. The thing about PWG, and it's crazy, people don't realize this. When PWG was running, it was basically a farm system for the WWE, you know, prior to AEW. And William Regal was at every PWG show scouting talent. Like, this is like, I'm not even fabricating. This is all legit. And if you look at the people that the WWE signed in the last 10 years, now some of these guys have already left, but like Keith Lee, Adam Cole, Chris Hero going back a lot further, Claudio Castagnoli, now Jeff Cobb. And there's a lot of other guys I'm leaving off there, but it just produced, and I'm not going to say produce, it just showcased so many good talents. And like, that's a place that Jacob Fatu never worked. At least I don't think he did. And that's not to say he wasn't good, but I think, like, you know, he came to prominence after PWG more or less shut down.
How do you feel about them signing him at, I guess, at 42? You know, it's not really your typical signing age.
I think that speaks to how much value they see in him, right? Like, they just let go a whole bunch of talented wrestlers, and, you know, they let go of a lot of people because they just said, look, they're never going to make it to that next level. You know, like Braun Strowman will never be the next Undertaker. He won't be the next Big Show. He's a great big dude, but he's just not, he doesn't have it for us. They let go of Shayna Baszler, not because she's not a badass, but like they just don't know how to use her. They let go of a lot of really solid talent and then signed Jeff Cobb. They signed him because they feel like he's got something that he could bring to the table.
Right.
And it's funny. I just now realized that I'm saying all this, and the people on YouTube don't hear you. So I'm answering questions on YouTube, and they're like, "What is he even talking about?" But yeah. So going back to what you were asking, I just think it speaks to the value that they see of him as a worker. And again, like it's I know it's a double standard, but it's weird that the WWE thinks of the women wrestlers like at 35, it's time to start winding down. And the men wrestlers, it's like, oh, you don't even hit your stride till you're 35. And then once, you know, it's probably 40 is like when you're really at that elite level. So,
yeah.
I mean, shit, they keep talking about Goldberg coming back, right? Like, oh, it's going to be Goldberg versus Gunther at SummerSlam. I don't think that's going to happen. But Goldberg's like in his late 50s now, right?
They had their chance this weekend, man. I was hoping for Ilya Dragunov or even Goldberg to show up. One of the two I would have been happy with, but they had nobody.
Nobody. Just McAfee took a beating. That's it.
Yeah, that was predictable. The only way McAfee would win is if he was helped out by Goldberg or Ilya Dragunov. It was
I mean, you can't really. I think in this day and age, like, it would be so insulting to the fans if even by accident Pat McAfee gets a win over Gunther. Like, you don't spend the last 5 years building up Gunther the way he is to have him put over an announcer. You know what I mean? I don't care.
But I don't think it would hurt him though if it was done the right way with it building up a feud with Ilya Dragunov or Bill Goldberg.
Yeah, and for those of you guys on YouTube, we're talking about all things wrestling right now. I'm on TikTok live with my boy Soto 619, and we're talking about the WWE right now. We're talking specifically about the recent signing of Jeff Cobb, and then right now we're talking about Gunther and Pat McAfee at Backlash. That was Backlash, right? And then and the potential for Goldberg to make an appearance that just didn't materialize. Would you be shocked if Goldberg made an appearance in AEW? Like, if he just said, "Screw it, WWE's taking too long. I'll just go to AEW."
Yeah, I would be shocked, to be honest.
I would be too.
I'd be shocked.
I just, like, because he doesn't fit the dynamic. But I mean, like, look, Samoa Joe versus Goldberg is a match that I never knew I wanted until just this moment, right?
Really?
Did you remember those promos with Samoa Joe and Lesnar, and how real it felt? And I don't feel like the WWE dropped the biggest fumble that they dropped was not putting Lesnar and Samoa Joe in a WrestleMania match. As far as I'm concerned, I think Joe could have not carried. I think Lesnar's a great performer, but I think Lesnar and Joe would have felt so real and looked so brutal. And, like, for the World's Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania, like, man, they dropped the ball as far as I'm concerned. So, like, if Joe and Goldberg had a match and Joe just choked his ass out, like, I would love that.
Yeah, same. Going back to Gunther real quick and Goldberg, assuming he actually does come back. I think Gunther is the perfect person to have his last match with, because he does have that in-ring capability, kind of like how William Regal, was able to lead their match when he faced Goldberg, and he talked down on that match a lot. How he was like, Goldberg didn't know what he was doing because he didn't know how to have a long match. He would just do his quick moves and be done.
Yeah, for sure. And so, like, with William Regal leading Goldberg through those matches, he was also a lot less experienced then. I feel like Goldberg, his time in the WWE probably made him a better wrestler than what he was in WCW. But I do feel like, look, he's never going to be like the greatest wrestler. He'll never win a 5-star, right? Like, Meltzer will never give him that praise. But I feel like you could have a really good match, and I think Gunther is probably the only guy that, because if Goldberg gets a little happy, a little too excessive, Gunther's a shooter, bro. Gunther will wreck that guy. Same thing like with Samoa Joe. And there's a lot of comparisons between the two. Like, Gunther will settle shit if he has to. Like, that guy plays nice when he's in the ring chopping people and leaving handprints on them. He could really destroy some people. My guy Inkster Ross is say that he wants to see Goldberg versus Braun Breaker, or Gunther versus Braun Breaker. I mean, I think there's a time and place for that too. I think with the way that gimmick is set up right now, that stable with Paul Heyman's new Dangerous Alliance. I know that's what the fans are kind of calling it. With Braun, I mean, he's the ultimate enforcer. That dude has showed that he has almost zero fear when he's in the ring, and the way that he's spearing guys out of their shoes, it's just ridiculous. And putting him with Seth, I think, is great because, what's one thing Braun's missing? I mean, he's a credible athlete. He looks good in the ring, but he's kind of vanilla, right? Like, he has no season, if you will. And I feel like putting him in the ring with Seth and with Paul Heyman especially, like, that's how you get that guy some seasoning.
Who do you think? Sorry.
No, you're
Go
good.
ahead.
No,
who do you think the third guy is? If there is a third guy, assuming, if you were to guess, who would be your third person?
So before the injury, I think it would have made a lot of sense to have it be Kevin Owens for sure. But because he's out, it doesn't seem likely that he'll be returning anytime soon. I like to think of superstars, right? And I'm thinking like, who right now is more over as a heel than Logan Paul?
Dumb.
Is Dom still over as a heel, or is Dom turning into a babyface?
He's in that. Sometimes it feels like he's in that gray area.
Inkster said something. Maybe it's somebody from NXT, and like I've heard like Trick Williams, and I don't hate that idea at all. But like, so you have Seth, who is basically the guy. Like he is the Roman Reigns of this group, and right now Braun Breaker is more or less his enforcer. So who grows the group? Who makes the group better instantly by putting them in there? Logan Paul, he really doesn't make the group better, but he certainly puts more heat on the name. People are less likely to cheer for the group if Logan Paul's in it. Thinking about it out loud, who on the roster? Braun Strowman might have been a good guy too. How do you feel about Drew McIntyre in that group?
Him and Seth though have
That's true.
continuously butt heads, so I think there'd be a power struggle there. So I'll tell you what I've heard, but at the same time I don't want to make your change your answer.
Well, my first answer is Logan Paul.
Okay, because what I've heard is Logan Paul, Big Bronson Reed,
I love it.
Rusev,
Less about Rusev, but I like the other two.
and I can't think of the other person right now.
So it would be.
but-
So they would all be a part of the group.
No. Those are the
Or
names
just
I've
one?
heard.
Okay.
Correct.
Like the
Yeah.
finalists.
Correct.
Bronson Reed Bronson Reed's an interesting guy because when he gets back, you have options, right? Because the last time we saw Bronson Reed, he was in the bloodline. Or not in the bloodline, but adjacent to the bloodline. He was a part of that cage match where, unfortunately he got hurt. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see Bronson end up a part of this new bloodline, 3.0, if that's what we're calling it. But, and seeing the other thing with Bronson on the way out, he had that rivalry with Seth before he got hurt, right?
That's true.
That doesn't necessarily disqualify him. Rusev would be very interesting too.
Yeah, because he's got a fresh character coming back.
And what's his biggest complaint? Nobody's giving him an opportunity. Like he was in the WWE, he won the U.S. title, and he still wasn't given that opportunity to main event. And then he left thinking he'd find greener pastures, and they did not put him in the main event. They didn't give him an opportunity. So now he's going to his guy, Paul Heyman, the guy who makes good wrestlers into household names. And there's the stories right there for sure. And then like in the meantime, before you do something really extensive with Rusev, you could always put him and Braun as a tag team. They could easily go after the tag titles, and that would be a very like a power heavy, like almost LOD, 2025 type tag team. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I think Rusev would be a good fit considering. But you're right. Logan Paul definitely brings the heat, and I think that's why it's perfect for Logan Paul to be in it. It would bring more eyes, right? Because he's got so many viewers.
And that's the thing. Like, and we talk about because I'm an NWA fan. First and foremost, the NWA is my bread and butter. So when we talk about pro wrestling, what the NWA needs more than anything else is attention, eyeballs. They need people to watch the product. Soto, you watch so many hours of WWE programming, and you haven't seen maybe 5 minutes of the NWA. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's on them because they haven't compelled you enough to get your eyeballs to get your attention there.
Or they don't make it advertised or known. I think the most I know for a show is the Crockett Cup.
Yeah.
That's the most advertising I've seen that's not from you.
That's probably true. And the thing about it is, like, the Crockett Cup is going to be loaded. I mean, the main event. So I don't know for sure what the main event is. If I'm booking it, the main event would be Natty Neidhart, Natalya in the WWE, challenging for the NWA Women's World Championship from Kenzie Page. Now, non-WWE fans, they don't know who Kenzie Page is. She has an opportunity to make a name for herself if she has a good outing against Natty Neidhart. I mean, and then, like we said earlier in the show, I'm really hoping Natty wins. But that means that there's at some point where, Natty's going to have to do the favor to an NWA talent, which would essentially propel them to some worldwide, notice. If it's Kenzie Page regaining it, or if it's Markova regaining it, a lot of people are going to talk about that. Those eyeballs from the WWE could drift over to the NWA with that. Then also the other big match is Rhino challenging for the 10 pounds of gold, the World Heavyweight Championship, against Tom Latimer. Rhino just made his AEW debut, and they're talking about him having a big plan for him in AEW ROH. So it's almost like, dude, it wouldn't be a horrible idea if Rhino won the title just to get people talking about it. And we'll see if that happens, though.
Damn, Rhino's 49.
Yeah, well, he's as close to 50 as you can be. And I saw a graphic the other day that showed him, in his very early part of his career in WCW. Obviously, he made a name for himself in ECW and the WWE. He'd wrestled for TNA, held the NWA World Title for a few days while in TNA wrestling. He's going to do his first Billy Corgan NWA show on Saturday night. His first match, he appeared at another event, and then an AEW ROH. So he's literally worked every single promotion, every big promotion in the last 30 years. That's crazy. You think about that, everyone: WCW, WWE, TNA, ROH, AEW, NWA. I mean, who else did he miss? Who else is big enough for him to have missed? Maybe
GCW.
MLW. I bet you he's worked GCW.
Probably. He probably has.
Now I'm gonna go look, because that sounds.
Before I forget, AAA is having an event, obviously, at the NTJ. I just wanted to see if you wanted to go.
When?
I think it's the 30th of this month. Friday.
It should be. I want to. I definitely want to. What Soto said to me is that Lucha Libre AAA is holding an event in Tijuana, which is about 2 hours from me and about 10 minutes from Soto. And
It's like 20.
20 minutes, okay. And obviously AAA just recently was purchased by the WWE. That's going to change a lot of things, although I don't think the official ownership has changed hands yet. It will very, very soon. And this might be
I have a feeling that this, exactly what you're about to say, I have a feeling that this is going to be like the last put on shows in TJ that's still run by the family,
Yeah.
and not entirely WWE based, because they're 2 weeks away. Oh, I think it's the 23rd. I gotta double check. I'll find out right now.
Yeah, Rhino wrestled Joey Janela this year for GCW. I'm sorry, I should have said that. He wrestled against Matt Cardona in 2022, and the ECW world television title was on the line. That's weird. And then Inkster asked, did he ever work WCW? Yeah, as a very new to the game wrestler, Rhino did work WCW. And Tasty Sade says on YouTube that I look like Kevin Owens. So then our guy Inkster also said, don't be surprised if Zilla makes a save for Jacob.
He's still on probation.
He's still on probation?
He's still on probation. Yeah, he just posted about it the other day, too. He's not coming anytime soon.
They are definitely keeping him occupied. I mean, that's kind of what... I don't think he's officially been labeled a WWE ID guy, but I mean, he's working Reality of Wrestling, which is one of the hot WWE independent promotions out there.
Yeah, he's definitely on their radar. Like, they're not dumb about it. And Booker T has said he knows he doesn't have much time with him left. So
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, and I'm saying this with all due respect, Zilla's still a young guy. He doesn't have, he is not Jacob Fatu. If y'all expect him to come in and be Jacob Fatu, you're going to be disappointed. Will he be a badass? Absolutely. But, like, getting in the ring, he doesn't have the experience. Remember, Jacob Fatu spent a lot of time working for MLW and a lot of time working the indies before he even got a shot at MLW. So
head of house said, "Bro, is that Kevin Owens?"
it is. Let me try to talk like Kevin Owens. Sabi, my neck hurts, Sabi.
Yeah, Zilla's only 25.
Yeah, he still got the the whole world by his chutzpah.
I gotta find out the exact date because I know that they're having one on the 18th, which is this Sunday, but I know there's another one. So I have to send you that one. I have it. It's on my Instagram.
They're doing an event this Sunday?
I think so. I was on their website right now.
I know the Crash is doing a show Friday, and I can't make it because I'll be flying to Philly that day.
See, one says the 23rd. Maybe it's the 23rd. Hold on. 23rd, which is next Friday. Yeah, okay. I think it's the 23rd.
I can make next Friday, I think.
Yeah, my bad. It's the 23rd. It is next weekend. I know some of the guys actually wrestling in that one, so I'm asking my buddy.
Your guy is formerly known as Rey Mysterio, right? Or King Mysterio.
No, not that one. He's not going to be wrestling in that one.
Okay.
It's going to be I think it's Los Mestizos. No, not those guys. Hold on. This one is a different tag team. But anyways,
I'll
send you his. I'll send you his thing. Oh, and I think La Parca's going to be there too.
Is it Bamboo?
Not Bamboo.
I love Bamboo.
I know
Those are
you
my
love
guys.
Bamboo.
No, my favorite guy is Bamboo's tag team partner, whose name I can't think of right now.
I can never remember his name either. Here's a flyer.
Oh, dope. Okay, yeah. So that's May 23rd, next Friday. Yeah. Oh, that's dope, man. Yeah, I'm in. I'm totally in. Oh, we
The one with the glasses. This is Devino.
Oh, yeah. Archangel Divino.
Yeah. So he's
Okay.
he's cool. I hit him up on Instagram. I was trying to see him in Vegas, but I couldn't make it to his show. But yeah, I know he'll be there.
I just got asked if I like P Diddy on YouTube.
What?
So it said, "Sir, do you like P Diddy?" No, I don't like P Diddy. Thanks for asking. Bonjour,
I think
mon ami.
I think it's food that you need to cook with oil. So make sure you say yes. I like to cook it with oil.
Oh my God, no! I won't be saying that on YouTube. I think that'll get me banned on YouTube. Oh yeah. Okay. So. Yeah, I'm in. I'm.
Yeah. Let me just confirm, but I should be good. It's perfect because the next day is Saturday night's main event, which I know you know a lot about.
I grew up with Saturday night's main event, man.
Yeah, it's nowadays it's for your casual viewers.
Yeah, 100. Like it's for me, like because I'm starting to get back into the WWE, and it's partially your fault, but also because the product has gotten a lot better lately.
Yeah. But you can also watch my recap if you missed the show, and you can know what happened in a minute and a half. You're like, I'm done.
I do watch your recaps every week, and I sometimes share them on social media because I find you to be valuable in terms of like, as a friend, you're great, but like,
thank you.
Being able to be caught up with WWE in like a minute, I think is pretty cool because I can't always watch it, and I've had some weird comments on my TikTok, so now I'm gonna get to those. Although there's some weird comments over here too. Rest in peace, Sabu. Yeah, man, that is.
Oh, I wanted to talk to you about that one because I had just seen him in Vegas, and when we were at the Westgate, he was walking by me, and I was like, Sabu, and he just, he does his casual wave, say hi, and that was it. That was our interaction. But I was like, man, I literally just saw you.
Yeah. Let's talk about Sabu.
Let's do it.
Because that breaks my heart, man. He just okay. If we're putting all the cards on the table, we know that Sabu has been a very the man doesn't have a slow speed. He went out there, and every time Sabu wrestled, he gave you his all. And I got to watch him wrestle a couple of times here in Southern California. He, besides being a former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, he was an XPW champion. When he left for ECW for some time, he came out here to the West and wrestled for XPW. In fact, I know not a lot of people even know XPW, but he was simultaneously the XPW World Champion and the NWA World Champion. And that's like a weird, for me, because I'm Californian and XPW started in my backyard, and NWA is kind of my bread and butter. Like, that's so bizarre to me. And he was having like two different lives, really. Then to go from that to he basically, if it wasn't for Sabu, I don't think that ECW would have been what it was supposed to be. The way we all affectionately think of ECW doesn't exist without Sabu. It just doesn't.
Absolutely. I would say your heavy hitters are Sabu and Psychosis.
Psychosis? ECW?
Did I say the wrong one? One of the luchadores. I think it was.
Well, so Psychosis was there. Ray was there.
I know that.
Yeah, I mean, as far as luchadores, yeah.
Because I know that luchador, the lucha scene is what shot up ECW at the time.
Zach
as
Velocity
well.
also pointed out Super Crazy was there. Yeah, he was
Super
too.
Crazy.
But that was a lot later.
I've gotten closer to Super Crazy. It's been so weird, bro. Like, when I went to GCW, sorry, we're going off a little topic a little bit.
No,
when I went to GCW in Vegas, I was backstage with freaking Super Crazy and Microman.
Yeah.
And
you can
Microman.
say Microman. That's what.
Yeah,
that's
Microman.
They say in Mexico, Microman.
Yeah.
It's good.
But everybody knows him, Microman. But yeah, I was backstage with both of them, and then, Super Crazy just remembers everybody. Like, he's really good with the face.
Yeah.
He'll remember you, and yeah, I don't know. He's really cool, my buddy. I'm all thanks to my buddy, because without my buddy and having him own, a wrestling company here, I wouldn't know a lot of these guys on more of a personal level.
I need to come with you to one of those shows.
June 7th.
That's June. So that is literally June 6th is my wife's birthday, and it's usually a weekend thing. And every time there's an event, you're gonna leave. Every time he has an event, it's around stuff that we're doing with the family. Like the last show, we were in the UK. My guy Brian asked where I'm at. He's in Carlsbad. So if I tell you the city, you're not going to know it. But basically, I'm about 2 hours north of San Diego, about 30 minutes east of Riverside, and about 40 minutes west of Palm
I think they just want your coordinates.
100.3-5. So yeah, the thing about ECW is what sold ECW is that you saw things there that you didn't see anywhere else, right? The first time most American fans saw a wrestler get put through a table, it was probably Sabu doing it. The triple jump moonsault, that I haven't seen anybody do that as good as Sabu. I mean, Hayabusa used to do that too, right? And in fact, there's a lot of parallels between Hayabusa and Sabu. But I guess ECW, I don't feel like would exist without Sabu, because he was that guy who literally had his bicep hanging off of his arm, and they put super glue to keep it attached, and then he went and wrestled the match anyways. And he was wrestling against guys like Terry Funk and Shane Douglas and Taz and Rob Van Dam and Tommy Dreamer and Sandman. And because he was that aura about him was so crazy, I feel like it really compelled fans to come see him. and it legitimized everything ECW was doing. And then in terms of the high flying wrestling, of course, ECW was known for bringing the luchadores in before anybody else. So they had, Too Cold Scorpio was one of those guys that was just really doing stuff that nobody had ever seen before. But then Juventud and Ray and Psychosis, like the feud with Psychosis and Ray is what got both those guys to WCW.
Real quick, you brought up Sandman. I know we're running out of time.
Yeah.
You brought up Sandman. I saw Sandman at WrestleCon. He was gone. He was wasted.
He usually is.
He cut a promo for me. I still haven't posted it, but he cut a promo for me, and you can hear him slurring. So,
Oh no.
but he cut a cool promo. That's why I haven't posted it. But I'm just like, he cut a cool promo, and he talks about Soto 619, and he comes up to the camera, and we're flipping off the camera, and
Post it.
I guess.
Real quick before I have to get back to the podcasting stuff, my story with Sabu is, so I have this title here. I don't know if you guys could see it. This title has signatures from guys like AJ Styles, Ric Flair, the late Harley Race, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Nick Aldis, Scrap Iron Adam Pearce, Colt Cabana, Blue Demon Jr., a lot of Jeff Jarrett. I mean, I can keep going, but there was a local wrestling event here in Orange County, California, and it was a really shithole lucha slash. It's ran by Antonio Inoki's daughter. I don't know if she married or was just with a luchador. I don't even know if they're still together, but they had a kid, and this guy still runs wrestling shows in SoCal, and it's kind of a dirtbag. I don't know how he got so close to Inoki's daughter, but they have advertised big names before, and obviously no shows. And I'm like, Sabu's advertised. I'm sure if he's there, he's going to be signing or selling merchandise or something. I could get him to sign this. So I bring my title, I go, my wife and kids are at Knott's Berry Farm, which is just down the street. I'm like, I'm going because I want to get this signature on my belt. And I'm waiting, and I asked somebody, I'm like, hey, when is Sabu getting here? Is he going to sign before, or is it going to be after? And the guy's like, yeah, he'll be here later. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And now we're halfway through the show, and there's no sign of Sabu. And I'm like, this is bullshit, right? Like, are you kidding me? And then so I message him on X, and I'm like, hey, man, you were advertised for this event. Are you here? Are you coming? And he goes, oh, I'm sorry. I blew out my knee. I'm not there. And they never announced that, right? Card subject to change. And I'm like, well, fuck this mess. And I left. Midway through the show, I left. And then so he's messaging me. He's like, yeah, I'm sorry. I hate to disappoint the fans. And I told him, like, I'm a huge NWA nerd, and I remember you as world's heavyweight champion. I go, there's a wrestling store out here called the Wrestling Guy Store, and they always have autograph signs. I go, I told them to if ever you're here and signing, let me know because I'm in. I want to get your autograph. And he goes, I won't let you down. I'll make it right for you. And I was like, awesome. And that was in 2021, and it never got right. And I saw him at the GCW show back in March after Elimination Chamber. I went to the GCW show, and I didn't know he was there, or else I would have tried to get him to sign in. And yeah, that sucks. So
wait, the first time I saw him was 10 years ago at WrestleMania 31 for WrestleCon.
Yeah.
And I had the ECW title with me, and the only ones that I had signed at the time was Rey Mysterio because he wasn't signed to WWE at the time.
Yeah.
And RVD. And the whole time, it came down to money. The whole time I was like, do I get Sabu? Do I get Sabu? And I was like, nah, I can't. So I didn't get Sabu. So then, fast forward 10 years later, we go to WrestleCon again for, the most recent one in Vegas.
Yeah.
Sabu's there. I see him over and over. I go every day. I'm there 3 days in a row. I didn't bring the ECW title with me, so I couldn't get it signed if I wanted to. And I'm like, do I go pay for a picture? Because pictures are like $30. And I'm like, no, it's okay. I'll do it later. And now later will never come. So, moral of the story is meet the people you want to meet now, and worry about money later.
That's part of the reason why I'm going to Philly this weekend. Is I have a lot of friends all over the U.S. from this NWA relationship that I have, and like I have a really good friend who lives in Fort Worth, Texas. I have a really good friend that lives in Glassboro, New Jersey. I have a good friend that lives in like he lives in his van and he goes from like Ohio to West Virginia back and forth all over the place. And there's all these good people that I know that I've never got to actually meet, right? And so I was like, the hell with it, man. I'm going to make an effort to meet these people. And that's why I wasn't like, I didn't even hesitate. You're like, hey, you want to meet up sometime? Like, hell yeah, I do. Because, you know, nothing's promised in life. And I don't want to end the show on a downer. But like, look, any one of us can go tomorrow. And I don't think Sabu walked into that match against Joey Janela thinking like this will be the last time he'll be in a match. Like, I know it was his retirement match, but I bet you in the back of his head he thought like, you know, the next payday comes and I'm going to take it. And it's you know, that's why I do what I do, is because nothing's promised. So
For sure.
Nothing is promised. Not even the Alliance blog. But I'm glad that we were able to talk about Sabu both on the pre-party and on the live stream on Twitch. Of course, we try to effort to get fresh new content here on the Alliance blog, and we have some interviews that are already lining up, including Big Mama, Matthias from the United Wrestling Network, and a lot more. So I guess what I'm telling you to do is stay tuned for more of the Alliance blog.
thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.